All right, so we are diving into the world of legal guardianship today.
Huh?
And we're going deep using RoleCatcher's career guide and even taking a look at their website to give us
Yeah.
all the insights.
It's really interesting.
Yeah, what I found really interesting is that it's a career path that I feel like often flies under the radar,
Right.
but it is so important and so much more than just paperwork.
Absolutely.
Like
Yeah.
we always think of legal and we think very like dry and just factual, but this is like real people.
It's true.
This is advocating for somebody's well-being across like all aspects of their life, right?
Totally, totally. And I think RoleCatcher's Guide does a really good job of highlighting this and showing that it's a blend of legal know-how, but also genuine compassion. You know, they had one example of a legal guardian who was working with an older gentleman, and in the course of getting to know him, found out that he was a really avid bird watcher before his health started to decline.
Wow.
So the Guardian went above and beyond to organize trips to nature preserves, set up a bird feeder outside his window, just little things like that, tapping into this guy's passion, and it made a huge difference in his quality of life.
Oh, that's so sweet. See, that's what I mean. It's like you're not just managing a case, you're supporting a life.
Exactly.
Like, that's really cool. But that also, I imagine, is where the emotional roller coaster comes in.
Yeah.
Because the guide actually uses that term, and I was like, that is spot on.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because you're making decisions. I mean, I imagine having to make like a difficult medical decision for someone who can't communicate their wishes.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, that's a heavy burden to carry.
Yeah. And you're thinking about the guide mentions minors, people with disabilities, aging adults. It's like anybody at any point could find themselves in a situation where they need a legal guardian.
Right, right.
It's not something we really think about.
It's like a side of life we don't really think about,
Right.
because you have to.
Right, exactly. And it's a growing need.
Yeah.
By 2030, over 20% of the U.S. population is going to be over 65.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's a big jump. So the need for legal guardians is only going to increase.
Okay, so that's a career that has some serious longevity.
For sure.
Wow. Okay, so someone's listening to this right now and they're like, this sounds incredibly meaningful, but is this like a lawyer-only job?
Yeah, you know, that's a common misconception. They list a whole range of academic backgrounds that can be helpful. Social work, psychology, nursing. They even had an example of somebody with a background in project management
Oh, interesting.
who ended up being successful.
Okay, so like organization, I'm assuming?
Yeah, think about the skills involved in project management. You have to be organized, you need good communication skills, problem solving, advocating for your team's needs. Those are all really transferable to being a legal guardian.
Yeah, that totally makes sense.
And this is where a tool like RoleCatcher can really come in handy.
Oh, tell me more about this, because I was curious about this.
Okay, so you know how job descriptions can be kind of vague
Yeah,
and and use all this weird language?
a little bit, yeah.
RoleCatcher actually has a feature that analyzes job descriptions and breaks them down and identifies the key skills. Then it highlights the skills that you have that match
Okay.
based on your profile.
That's really cool. So you can really tailor your materials to be like,
Exactly.
I have what you need, which I imagine in this field is important because you can teach somebody the legal stuff, but can you teach somebody compassion? Can you teach somebody empathy?
Right.
And I feel like those are probably
Absolutely.
equally important, right?
For sure. Yeah. And speaking of standing out, RoleCatcher does this really innovative thing where employers actually use the platform to find candidates.
Oh, wow. So they're not even waiting for you to apply. They're like coming to you.
Yeah, basically.
Wow. Okay, so flips the script on the whole thing.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I do want to go back to the emotional challenges a little bit because they had a story in there about a legal guardian who had to make the very difficult decision to move their ward, who was an elderly woman with dementia, into a care facility.
Yeah, that's rough.
What makes a person arrive at that decision?
Well, it sounded like in this case, her dementia had progressed to a point where she was wandering at night and it was becoming a safety concern.
Right.
Like she needed a level of care that her guardian, who was a single parent, couldn't provide at home.
Yeah.
It was a really tough decision for everyone involved, really heartbreaking.
Oh, absolutely. I can only imagine. That's a
Yeah.
lot, you know?
It is.
Because it's not like you just read in a textbook, oh, at this stage, this is what you do. Like, there's so much more to it.
Right. You have to consider the individual's needs and wishes and all of that.
Yeah, and like the family dynamics, too.
Oh, for sure. You might have family members who have different opinions about what's best, and you have to navigate all of that.
It's got to be so hard.
It's tough. But the guide also talks about the incredible rewards. You know, Seeing a ward thrive under your care and witnessing their progress, it makes all the challenges worth it.
Yeah, like that story we heard about the bird watcher. Like, what a gift, to be able to give that to somebody.
Absolutely, absolutely. And speaking of rewarding careers, the guide actually lays out the different paths you can take in this field.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They have, like, the different stages, legal guardian assistant, all the way up to senior legal guardian.
Right. And they actually start with the senior legal guardian profile, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, like you said, like jumping right into the deep end.
Yeah, like here's the ultimate goal, and then we'll show you how to get there. And the example they use is amazing. This woman isn't just managing cases, she's like advocating for systemic change
Right.
to improve the lives of all individuals under guardianship.
That's incredible.
Yeah, they talk about her collaborating with lawmakers, pushing for policies that promote autonomy and well-being.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So it's like using this one role as a springboard to make these broader changes.
Exactly, exactly. And it goes back to what we were talking about before with the transferable skills. Somebody with a background in policy or community organizing could really make a difference in this role.
That's so cool. Okay, so if we rewind all the way back to the beginning,
Yeah.
to that legal guardian assistant, what does that look like day to day?
It's a lot of the foundational stuff, assisting with daily tasks, making appointments, organizing documents, all the things that keep a guardian's practice running smoothly.
Got it. So really being that support system.
Exactly, exactly.
And their example profile for this stage really emphasizes organization and attention to detail.
Oh, absolutely. We're managing budgets, setting up medication reminders,
Right.
making sure the ward's basic needs are met,
Yeah, like really learning the ropes and proving that you can handle all the little details.
right? Building that strong foundation.
Yeah.
And then from there, you can move into the actual legal guardian role.
So that's where the autonomy comes in.
Exactly. You're making decisions, advocating for their needs, navigating those legal processes.
Right, because you're not just dealing with paperwork at that point.
No, you're building relationships with the ward, their families, doctors.
Oh, absolutely. There's a huge human element to it.
It's a very people-oriented field. You need strong interpersonal skills, empathy. You have to build that trust.
Totally. Okay, so then from there you can go on to those leadership roles, like that senior legal guardian we were talking about?
Exactly. Exactly.
Wow. Okay, that's so...
And it's not just about moving up. The guide also mentioned that you can specialize within the field.
Oh, really? I
Yeah.
didn't realize they were, like, specializations.
Yeah, you could focus on a specific population, like minors or older adults, or you could specialize in a certain area like financial management or healthcare advocacy.
Oh, interesting.
There's even a growing field focused on technology and guardianship, which I thought was fascinating.
Oh, technology.
Yeah.
Now, that's something I wouldn't have thought of. Tell me more about that, because I feel like we think of technology and we think of, like, young people.
Right, right. But think about it. With our aging population and the increasing use of digital tools in healthcare and finance, we need guardians who understand how to navigate that world.
Oh, that's a good point.
So it's not just about being tech savvy yourself, it's about advocating for your ward's access to technology and making sure their digital rights are protected.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Right.
Yeah, so it's like another layer to that advocacy.
Exactly.
Okay, so we're not just advocating for their, daily living. We're advocating for them to, like, exist in the world.
Absolutely. You're making sure they're not left behind as our world becomes increasingly digital.
Totally. Wow, that's a really good point. Okay, and speaking of technology, we haven't even really touched on how technology impacts the role itself, like how it's used by the legal guardians.
Right. The guide mentions things like electronic medical records, online legal documents, virtual court hearings. All of these advancements are streamlining processes and making information more accessible.
That makes a ton of sense. It's more efficient, less paperwork. But what about the human side of things? I feel like that's such a big part of this role.
Right, right. And it's a good question. I mean, technology can be a double-edged sword.
Yeah, it can definitely be both, for sure.
Right. On the one hand, it can help bridge distances. Like
Yeah.
we talked about telehealth, connecting with specialists, video calls, keeping families connected. But it can also become a crutch, replacing those in-person visits, those really important conversations. So it's about finding that balance,
Yeah.
making sure technology is enhancing those human connections, not replacing them.
Yeah, because ultimately a legal guardian's got to be there with the person, right?
Absolutely. Sometimes there's just no substitute for sitting down with somebody face to face.
Exactly, exactly. And it's about remembering the why behind all of this. We've talked a lot about the practicalities, the skills, the career paths.
Right.
But at its core, Legal guardianship is about advocating for someone's well-being.
Yeah, making sure they have a voice, even when
Yes.
they can't speak for themselves.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And it makes me think about, like we've talked about the individual and what they might be going through and what a legal guardian can do for them. But what about on a broader level? Like what leads to the need for legal guardianship in the first place?
That's a great question.
Are there things we as a society can do to maybe prevent or delay the need?
Absolutely. We need to create supportive communities where people can maintain their independence for as long as possible.
Okay.
So things like accessible healthcare, affordable housing.
Right. Those basic needs.
Exactly. Those are crucial, and strong social support networks. Those are all so important.
So it's like, it's not just about reacting when something happens. It's about trying to put those things in place on the front end so
Yeah.
that people have the best chance of success.
Exactly, exactly. And I think that's something to really reflect on. What can we do as individuals and as a community to create a more supportive environment for
Sh-
everyone?
Totally. Yeah, because this episode is not just about, hey, you should be a legal guardian. This is about, like, how do we support people? How do we create a society that values everybody?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's about recognizing that we all have a role to play in this.
Yeah. And for anyone listening who, like, this really resonated with and they're thinking, I need to learn more. Where do I even start? RoleCatcher is an amazing resource.
They really are. I was so impressed with the depth of information they provide.
And they bring it down in a way that's really easy to understand, whether you're just starting to explore this field or you've been in it for a while.
And they give you the tools to take action,
Yeah.
connecting you with potential employers.
Right. So if you're feeling that pull toward a career that's both challenging and incredibly fulfilling, head over to RoleCatcher.
Yeah, check it out.
Explore the possibilities. You might be surprised at what you discover.
And who knows, you might be the one advocating for those systemic changes, shaping the future of this field.
Exactly. Making the world a better place, one person at a time.
That's it.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for diving into this with me today. This was fantastic.
This was great. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And to everyone listening, thank you for joining us. This has been The Deep Dive.